The Senior Reset podcast delivers education and resources to help seniors and their families set themselves up for success. Each week, we dive deep with medical professionals and industry leaders to bring you answers to the questions that matter most. From the latest medical advice to financial strategies to staying ahead of scams, we'll build the toolkit you need to thrive. Here's your host, Joel Stewart.
Hi, I'm Nicole Farmer, here with the Senior Reset podcast. I'm filling in for Joel Stewart today. He is out, and I am here with Reverend Bryan O. I'm not going to try to say his last name. I'll let him do that. He is an ordained interfaith, non-denominational Christian minister and an ordained chaplain. And I'm going to let him give you a little more about his background to start with.
Thanks, Nicole. I have been doing this for 43 and a half years. I'm a board-certified mental behavioral health coach and pastoral counselor. I'm also an emergency response disaster crisis chaplain. I work with our here in Las Vegas Fire and Rescue, Metro, FEMA Homeland Security, and many others. I'm also technically trained level 1, and I'm also a casualty care field medic, and I'm trained in suicide ideation as well as drug addiction, alcoholism, human trafficking, domestic abuse and violence, sexual abuse and violence, and a few other things just to kind of keep me busy.
So yeah, is that all you do?
That's all I do. Plus, yeah. I'm also now the chairperson for VOED, which is Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster for the state of Nevada, which they told me the other day that now Northern and Southern Nevada have merged. So now I'm just in charge of 33.1 million people. No big deal. I just didn't get the memo.
Right. And I'm going to pause for just a second to let everyone know that I am broadcasting today from Rosewood Terrace. So I'm here in Indiana, and this is one of our facilities. I have a few guests that are here with us live that will potentially chime in and ask questions if things come up that they want to discuss a little further with you. So are you okay with that too?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. I'll let you continue. So you have a wide range of experience in different fields. It sounds like a lot dealing with like mental health, and I know we kind of talked about, let's focus on the physical side of that first, maybe like how your physical health kind of plays into all of it. And if you want to kind of give some examples of things that seniors can do to stay more active and to feel better.
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of things that a lot of seniors can do. You've got like the YMCA, WCA, where they actually have like swimming pool aerobics that really actually helps, especially if there's inflammation or they have a lot of problem, because water helps you almost feel like you're weightless or not really doing too much, but you're actually using a lot of muscles, and that way it takes away the pain. Plus, it's fun. It also gives them the social ability to meet other people and make friends, especially when they feel a little isolated and alone. So it kind of helps a lot of different things that way. And there's also, if some of the seniors are not as active, or maybe they're incapable because of maybe a handicap or something, they can do what is called chair trauma yoga, which is, in some cases, they went ahead and had all of us try that. I'm thinking, chair yoga, really? Come on, I mean, where's the activity in this? You know, when I was more exhausted sitting down in the chair than I was actually doing the movements.
Right.
Downward dog and all the rest of them. And so that can definitely help. Plus, also you're with other people, which also helps you have a nice little view with that. There's also organizations that will walk with you, help you walk around the block, or actually go on little hikes and whatever, for those that are capable of doing it. But it's just the fact that they just want to be with somebody, have someone
kind of like walking clubs.
Yeah. There's a lot of those like that, and that's an awful lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when they start to feel a decline in their health, and like maybe it's a little more difficult for them to get out and do those things, is that where maybe we would kind of introduce some physical therapy, whether it be outpatient or whether you go the home care route and maybe have a therapist come in and work with you on those things?
Yeah, you could definitely do that. There's an organization, I think, and I'm not plugging them by any means, but they're one of many resources. And I think everyone's heard of Visiting Angels. They're bonded, and they have trained personnel, and they help in a lot of different things, such as like Alzheimer's care, companion care, especially they don't really have any family or friends around, dementia, personal care. Could be like if someone has a limited mobility, physical disability, or a chronic health condition. They can be there to help them have better activities like, dressing, grooming, bathing, like that, as well as fall prevention and stuff like that. But the whole idea too is that they actually work with them too on the same side as of maybe having them work and understand the social side of things. I mean, a lot of elderly don't know. Give them, it's like, okay, my mom want to go and give her, my grandmother give her a cell phone so that way we can stay in contact. She's holding the cell phone like this. Okay, what do I do? And I kind of laugh a little bit because I had my grandmother, I got her an iPad, and so she's over here, she's like this, talking and yelling at the iPad. Like I said, Grandma, you don't just hold it like this. I'm right here. I mean, it's so they don't understand, and so sometimes they need someone that's going to be able to sit there and show them how to use this. Even, and they said showed 22% of individuals really improved even when they started working on Facebook. How wonderful that was, and it helps get their mind working and where they feel like they're doing something. I mean, that's a big major positive part for them.
Yeah, and that's the same concept that we offer at Signal too. I'm the director of our Indiana office, and we do the personal care and the companion care, and then on the skilled side of it, we also do the therapy and the skilled nursing. And our therapists will actually go in and do like a therapy maintenance program that's kind of underutilized, where like for those people that live alone that maybe don't have family members encouraging them, Medicare only allows us to get to a certain point. They'll cover physical therapy in the home 100% if you're homebound, but they'll only let us get to a certain point. Once you plateau, they make us get out. But with the therapy maintenance, if you can prove that there's going to be a decline and no one to help, we can stay in a little longer, more like a long-term service, and keep them kind of, the goal is to keep them in their home and to keep them where they're safe and comfortable and feeling more like getting out and doing those things that are going to keep them healthier.
Exactly, and I agree with that. And to piggyback on that, I'm the chaplain at the local Las Vegas Signal Health Group here, and I'm also I created the volunteer program, and that comes in gratefully because a lot of the nurses and people that come in, whether it's palliative care or whatever, the volunteers are trained. Of course, there's the do's and the don'ts, but they come in and actually are like the companions of these individuals. They sit there and play games with them. They talk with them. And most people, they don't understand what this is like. I mean, imagine you and I, how we can just go ahead and run around and do whatever we want at whim when we want to, but
right.
We don't have a car. Imagine if you have to sit there now and your car is taken away from you, your independence is taken away. Now you have to sit there and wait for someone else to take you. And usually they take you when they want to, not when you want to.
Yeah, and that's what I always tell people too, as far as like being a part of Signal or home care in general. For me, it's really, and especially with hospice, like it's a privilege and it's an honor to be able to be a part of this part of their life and to keep them feeling that way and to keep them safe. And they are kind of at their mercy. So you have to keep that in mind with dealing with them, because we don't know what that's like on a daily basis to have to depend on someone else, even if it's small. Like you can't clean your house yourself. Like things that I complain about on a daily basis that they're not able to do, that we're able to step in and help them do and help them age in place with their dignity and be there longer.
Exactly. I absolutely love that. Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah. So the physical part we know is important. And if they don't qualify for in-home care, which Medicare covers 100%, Medicaid limited coverage, but outpatient they can do as well. It's typically covered at like an 80% with a copay unless you have a supplement. So those are covered. But outside of that, we've kind of, just to recap, talked about how they can join up with the YMCA. They can join senior centers that do yoga exercises or chair exercises. The important thing is to stay active and also not push yourself beyond the limit of safety. So it's kind of good to do those things in groups with other people watching.
Yep. And also, I think in conjunction with yoga, they also have Reiki, which is wonderful, which is all about power and mind, and also meditation, doing meditation types of groups where they actually have essential oils and the incense and listening to and the different bowls that they hit. I mean, it's very relaxing. Even drum Reiki is wonderful. You would think someone walking around in the room hitting a drum is going to go do something, but actually with your eyes closed, it is very soothing, and it helps. Definitely, like you said, we all need a way to go ahead and decompress. We need a way to go ahead and feel good about ourselves, and that's one of the wonderful ways to do it. Plus, again, if you're out and about with people, they're going to make more friends. They're not going to feel so isolated and alone as well.
Right. And this topic is really kind of important for the families of these individuals that might be listening too, because we get so involved in the caregiving aspect, we forget to take care of ourselves. So this really applies across the board to any age group. Like, it's so important to take care of your physical health and to keep your mental health in a better place. So I guess that kind of leads us into the next part, like the resources out there for people that are struggling with the mental health issues. And I know you see a lot of that in what you do across the board, you know, all age groups. We talked last week about some of the devastating things you've had to witness recently. So if we can kind of narrow that down a little bit more to how it applies to seniors and what you're seeing in the work that you're doing with the mental health struggles that we're facing.
Yeah, well, a lot of what's going on too is that a lot of the aged are living longer than usual, and from the past, and there really haven't been too many organizations out there that are, I mean, when it comes to physical and all the other occupational and the speech therapies and all the different things, there's a lot of it out there. But when it comes to senior mental health, I mean, mental health has been a big issue all across our country, especially with COVID. I mean, for the longest time, we told people, don't be isolated, don't be alone, go out and meet people, hug people, be out there. Then for 2 years, don't touch anybody, don't look at anybody, stay in your home, lock the door. And so that caused a lot of problems, especially if people had other issues. And isolation and feeling alone is stuck in four walls. It's difficult for someone to go ahead and they feel like they're all alone and no one wants to be there. So the best part of it is even to have visitations, have someone come in and talk with them. Again, like organizations like Visiting Angels, someone coming in and let them feel like they're important. That's the whole purpose, is that a lot of us think just because they have their skin is wrinkled and there's white hair and all this, they're still 21 years old inside, you know, fighting to get out to do something. And they just want to feel like they are part of things. They want to feel like they're important and that they have self-worth, they have purpose. And that's the whole issue. And that's where a lot of us come in to go ahead, even family or even volunteers, friends, someone to come in, sit down and talk with them, play games with them, even sit there and make a cake with them. I mean, that meant so much. We had a nice elderly lady on our street who and her husband were excellent when it came into the yard. I mean, you would think some major landscaper was there in the yard. I mean, just her and her husband did it. They were in their 70s and 80s. Well, unfortunately, the husband passed away, and so she was left alone. So what she did is that she had like a nice little fence, and she always had beautiful flowers, a flower bed in the front. You always knew what time of year it was because it was beautiful. Like Home and Garden was going to be there to take a picture. I mean, it was always beautiful. Yeah. But she enjoyed that because also the neighbors walking their dog would stop and talk with her, and that's exactly how she felt like she was part of things. Right. Diabetes got the best of her. She couldn't be out there anymore, and that beautiful garden turned into weeds. And so we got really concerned. So we did a welfare check, and she was literally declining because she felt there was no purpose, no one was around. She couldn't meet any of the people on the street. So the neighborhood decided to go ahead and pull money together. We bought indoor flower boxes, and we brought them inside. And so even from her wheelchair, we made sure that we brought her all the mulch and all the stuff that she needed. We created a nice little area for her in one of the rooms. And so when you came over to her home, the outside beauty was right on the inside, and she made cakes and things too. And so we all came in. 5 years later, she did pass away by normal causes, but she had a wonderful time. And a lot of us don't look at these little things because it really wasn't the flowers that she enjoyed. It was the emotional connection of her and her husband, because the flowers meant her husband was right there with her. And
it's the emotional connection in the community as well. Like, you build that community around you. Not many of us are made to be alone that way. Like, you build that community. That's like our franchisee in Wisconsin that opened the first year that we franchised. He started out with his franchise volunteering and taking meals to different people. And he continues to do it today, 2.5 years later, even though he's so busy. He still will cook the meals himself sometimes and deliver them. But there was a gentleman that would occasionally not be home, but was really good about communicating that with him. And one night he didn't answer his door and no one knew where he was. So he got the super and went into the building, and he saved the man's life. Like, just something that simple that you don't think about, like bringing him food and not being okay that he didn't answer the door, and going that step further to check on him to make sure he was okay. You don't know what kind of difference you can make that way.
Exactly. And I always tell people, when it comes to mental illness, I mean, we can look at each other. I mean, we all go through struggles, all of us. I don't care
absolutely.
who we are, whatever. But with our culture, if we look at somebody, if you've got you're bleeding from a cut, or if your arm's in a sling or your legs in a cast, well, then there's something wrong, okay? But most of us, we don't have any of that. So we look fine, like you and I, we look just fine. But you and I could be suffering inside about something, but no one asks us because we don't want to get into someone else's business. We don't go ahead and, and it would be wonderful. We could go ahead and have like something on report, a billboard. Hi, I have schizophrenia. I have bipolar. I'm lonely. I'm afraid. I'm scared. That would be wonderful.
Unfortunately, I wasn't born with that filter. Like, I do ask questions all the time and get in people's business. So that's something I'm working through. But I mean, I am one of those people that kind of want to know what's going on underneath the surface a little bit. Well, which is why I love this topic today, because I think it is very important. And I think the physical health part of it is very important too for all of us at any age. But I think the mental health part of it is something we don't talk about enough.
Well, I think a lot of it too is, especially with seniors, as they get older, it's just like anybody with a very professional job, okay, like first responders or doctors and nurses and all this. You work all of your life and you have purpose. Okay, there's a reason for you to get up in the morning because people count on you. Of course, then when you sit there and say, oh, I'm going to retire, the first 30 days is utter bliss. It's wonderful. I don't have to get up. I don't have to shower, because you don't shower. You just don't have that many friends, but you don't have to do anything. But then after that 30 days, you sit back and wonder, okay, now what do I do? Why am I here? So they have that identity crisis and they don't understand. And so a lot of them start losing the motivation and they start getting in depression and they start playing the George Bailey, It's a Wonderful Life. Well, if I wasn't born, no one would give a crap anyway. And that's where the spiral starts going down. And
and some of our best caregivers are our seniors. I mean, they really are. And we have a nurse still that contracts with us and comps off our aides. And I'm not going to tell you how old she is in case she listens, because one, I got it messed up one time and I was in big trouble, and two, because I'm not, but she's above 70. And she will not retire. I mean, she's still like, she just keeps rolling and she keeps working, but she said she's not ready for that. She's a good home life, good husband, but she's just not ready to sit still yet. She doesn't want to be idle.
Oh yeah, and I work with a senior assisted living place down the way here from me. I go there and I provide, they like to have some spiritual services because it's interfaith, and so they like that, so I do that. But then I also sit there and talk with them, and I say, well, what is it that you like to do with your life? Well, I like to go ahead and be active. I like to go to the store, even go into Walmart, or even go to the 99-cent store. Right? I know this stuff is crappy, but I just like to go ahead and look at it. It's fun to pick up the little doodads and do things. They just want to go out and experience life, live life. And it's amazing what you can do when you're in that bubble, that four-wall bubble in your apartment or home. It's hard to see anything other than this is just dark and dreary. But if you can find some way to get out of that, come outside of your bubble, even for 20 minutes, to smell the fresh air, to look around, it's amazing what you can do with a new perspective that you have mentally, how you can look at things a little different. It's like when we have a lot of problems, if you're in the problem all the time, looks like this is Mount Everest, I'm never going to get over this problem. If you get out and step outside of that bubble and you look back in, then come back in, problem is still there, but no, it's no longer Mount Everest. It's a small mountain, but now I know I can climb over it and I can go again and be successful.
Right. So what would your biggest piece of advice be? I mean, I know you see the struggles a lot, probably a lot more than anything else. So for our seniors, or I guess really our listeners in general, because even for caregivers or anyone else that might find this interesting, you know, they struggle with those kind of things too, staying, you know, trying to take care of mom and dad and trying to juggle the kids and work and trying to do everything. Like, they struggle too. So what would your advice be? Where do you start? Where do you reach out? Obviously, don't just hold on to it. Don't just sit in your apartment alone. But for people that do live alone and don't live in a community, where do they start?
Well, where they can start, almost every community has a senior center. They do have a senior center. And if you don't have a car or whatever, they do have transportation where they will take you, where they actually feed everybody. You can have a nice lunch or breakfast or sometimes a light dinner. You can sit there and they play bingo. They have all kinds of different things that go on. They actually have, a lot of the senior centers will go ahead and actually have a day outing where they take you to Walmart, or they take you to say maybe I always want to say Mervyn's, but it's not Mervyn's anymore. It's at least out here it would be, what is the name of it? I go, what's that? What's another store that everybody knows? You see it on TV.
We have like Meijer here, Meijer, Walmart, those different places like that. Dollar General's taking over everything. So
there you go. But I mean, it's just something like this where they get to go out and be like part of everybody. They see all the other people, all different ages, and one lady that I was with over, she just went to Walmart to buy a blouse. That's it. She said it was one of the most wonderful days she's had in a long time. She was out with people. She has a mobility, or she can't really walk that far, but someone was right there with her. She had her cane, and she's able to look. She says, "Oh," and I mean, she looked at maybe 5 or 6 racks of different blouses, but she said, "Oh, look at this ocean of wonderful material." And she's out there and smelling and sniffing and touching all this beautiful color. Look at this, and that meant the world to her. And when she got tired, that was it. But she said that made her whole day. That gives her that positive perspective. And if you are, and I understand balance is difficult when you've got a family and you've got a job, you got kids. I mean, when is there time for you? There's not time for you. And so it's like, well, but I got to get a hold of mom and dad. And what you need to do especially is just pick up the phone and call. Just let them know, hey, how are you doing? And hey, can I tell you how my day is, good, bad, or ugly? They want to be there. That makes them feel like they're part of your life, like they're part of everything that's going on, that they mean something, that they have that purpose. And again, that's that identity that all of us go through. And I mean, these are just small little steps that you can make, and then it starts opening up doors and doing certain things. And then you've got, like I said, support groups. There's a lot of support groups out there for the aged that they can get together, and they will even go and pick them up and take them to these groups where they meet other people, make other friends that are having the same issues and same concerns. And then they talk about their past or their loved ones that have passed away. And oh yes, this is wonderful. And some of them, believe it or not, there were some younger ones. I think there was a young facilitator, at least out here, that was putting one of these support groups together, and she was having a terrible time. It was amazing. They were bringing all the seniors there to help each other. All the seniors were helping them get over loss and whatever. And then that helped them so much. It's almost like a counseling session by the seniors, which is I mean, that shows the intelligence that they do have.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, community is very important. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
So basically, just don't sit alone. Reach out to someone. Find a way to be connected. And if it gets deeper than that, if it's beyond a place where you can talk yourself into going out of your apartment. I mean, you've seen some dark stuff, and we hate to touch on that, but where you're just having some really bad thoughts, at that point, you need to seek help from a professional.
Definitely, you need to seek some additional help if ever something is getting to a certain point. I mean, like depression, maybe you're trying to get over the mourning of somebody, you have a trauma that's gone on, and you're trying to work through it. I mean, trauma is always going to stay there, but the more you deal with it, the more you talk about it, the easier it is to kind of get through it and work through it, and it makes everyday life easy. But if any time that you're doing something and the grieving or the trauma or the issue is getting in your way of your everyday routine, that's telling you that there's something there, and you need to reach out and seek and get some actual attention, get some counseling, get some support, get someone there to go and help you. There's a lot of organizations, especially for the seniors in each city and each state, that there are available sitting there. And I would imagine Medicare and Medicaid would help cover that in case of an actual mental issue like that, if they really needed that kind of help.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are different senior support centers that you can call, like local government numbers that they can link you up with those places, or Google if you have the ability to get on your phone to find those out. But definitely reaching out, you're talking, like you said, it's interfering with your daily life. So you're not feeling like getting out of bed. You're not feeling like showering like you normally do. You don't want to answer the phone when it rings. You don't want to answer the door for people. You're not eating. Like, we're talking big, major life things like that are very concerning, and you need to seek help immediately.
Exactly. And that's something you need to do. Could I tell a brief little story about something?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Absolutely. We've got plenty of time. Go ahead.
Okay. There was an elderly lady. She was 83. And her husband did all kinds of things. He was a teacher and all that, and they have 4 kids. Of course, the kids grew up, moved away, back east, all over the place, and they don't really, like we were talking about balance with kids, it's hard to spend time and visit mom and dad because they've been maybe not even seen them for like a couple of years, but they call every now and then and maybe send a Christmas card, and that's okay. They're doing the best they can, I suppose. Then the husband passed away, and so she's basically by herself. And so a lot of her friends on the street are sitting there saying, "Oh, well, what are you going to do now with your life? You're going to just kind of sit here and just kind of rocket away or what's going to go on. I mean, we have nothing else that we're doing. And so one of the ladies says, well, what is it that you'd like, always wanted to do? She says, well, I always wanted to be a counselor. And it says, well, and one lady said, well, that ship has sailed. I mean, you're already we're in our 80s. I mean, how's that going to happen? She says, well, I really want to try to do something. And so she reached out to UNLV, which is here. And so she reached out to one of the deans and said, well, I'd like to go ahead and come in and do something. And said, well, I have a concern because most of the student body is obviously younger than you, nothing against you. But I mean, you're listening to Perry Como and Rosemary Clooney, they're listening to Tupac and whatever. We've got a major difference here. And said, well, maybe we'll go ahead and consider doing something. Maybe we'll give you one semester and see how well it works. But if it starts causing problems with the student body, we have no choice but to go ahead and dismiss you, and you'd have to get off campus, and we just have to kind of cancel it.
Yeah.
So then all that stuff goes on. So what was interesting is that it was one of the best times they ever had, because a lot of the students are from out of the States. They're young, they get homesick. And so she reminded them of mom and grandma, which let them a little more of a foundational plant right there.
Yeah.
And so she helped them, they helped her. And to make a long story short, she graduated with honors. And she is working at one of the major psychiatric clinics here, and part-time. Still today. And some of the, nothing against people that have their PhDs and MBAs, please don't get mad at me, but a lot of them are asking her questions.
I love that.
How to do certain things, because she's very worldly. She has what a lot of college universities don't teach, and that is the book of life and success. And
I love it. Yeah.
And the best part of this whole thing is that now her kids want to talk to her, and now she says, sweetheart, I don't have time to go ahead and visit with you. I've got to go to work. I'm busy. And the student body loves her so much that they almost sounds like a TV commercial. They took her to Disneyland and they all got together. And she says, I have all my children here. She's having a blast.
I love it.
Her mobility.
Well, that makes a couple good points. Honestly, I love that story, but it makes a couple good points. One, it's never too late ever to keep learning. And two, the generational effects that you can have, like the benefits that woman probably had on those kids and those students, and the benefits they had on her. Like, I love it when we see the youth go in and volunteer in nursing homes and different stuff. Like, you know, even a trip to Walmart. I hate taking my 5-year-old to Walmart, if I'm being honest with you, but I absolutely love the way she interacts, because she has no self-control. And she has to say hi, and you have to acknowledge her. And I don't care if you're 20 or 80, she's going to track you down and make you pay attention to her. But older people that see her, they love it. Like you said, that's an outing for them. Like, it's really neat to see that happen. So I love that story.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of situations like that, and I agree with you. It doesn't matter how young or old you are. It just depends on the motivation, what you have inside. And if there's something that you still want to do that's on your bucket list before you can't do it anymore, go out and do it. I mean, obviously, work through. Don't just go on a whim and take risks in that. You have to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, what would happen if I do this? But life is too short. Go out there and live every breath, live every minute that you can, and grab life by and just do whatever you can and enjoy it. And that's what it is. And it doesn't matter how old you are. And I understand it's difficult when you're by yourself and there's no one else to help motivate you and whatnot, but there's a lot of other people out there that are looking for the same thing, that if they can connect with you, become friends. Imagine together what you would do. I always told my grandmother when she was with one of her lodge people, and they said, well, she'd always tell me when she's going on the road, she says, well, me and the girls are going to go out to dinner. I said, how many? She said, 4 or 5 of us. I said, oh Lord. I said, I'm going to have to say some extra prayers for all the other people, all you older women, to get in a car going somewhere. And she thought that was the most hilarious thing in the world. But that's the part that I like, is being able to go out there and be self-sufficient, go out there and enjoy life, embrace life, that there's a lot.
That's a great message for anyone that's listening at any age. I mean, life is too short, and we never know, especially in your line of work, we're not promised tomorrow, and you see that on a daily basis. So that's really good advice. Kind of just to go over what we've talked about, because I know we've discussed a lot of things. So, starting out, we talked about the physical health, like the foundation of that, and how it's good to start and be proactive, exercise, join a YMCA or a gym if you can, work out with other people, walking clubs. If you start to decline and you're having trouble doing that, maybe look into some physical therapy at home or outpatient, and some more let's say, guided exercises to strengthen you. And then, you know, once you feel better, that's going to help your mental health overall. But if you're still struggling, there are resources out there that you can reach out to. Senior centers, if you just need some connection and you're just feeling a little lonely, or, you know, even more so, pastors, psychologists, therapists, your family doctor can tell you where to start. Call a home care agency, get someone in there you can talk to. A lot of home care agencies have medical social workers too. So basically, like, the takeaway for me today from this is the importance of your overall health and how they all play into each other. Getting enough sleep, physical, mental, emotional, just keeping yourself healthy all around. And we kind of have came to the conclusion that you do need community and other people around you to help you in doing that.
Yep, and that's a very, very big thing. And the whole idea is all of us need self-care. All of us need to, and I say this religiously, at least once a week, a lot of us need to go ahead and take that hour or two and do something that is for you, whether it is gardening, whether it's working out, to doing yoga, if you're able and capable of hiking, doing that, doing puzzles, doing something to feel good, or just going on the bed sometimes in order for me to go ahead and deal with some of the trauma that I see. Music is everything for me. So what I'll do is go ahead and put on headphones, crank up the tunes, and I tell my wife, okay, I'm just going to be here for 20 minutes. 2 hours later, I wake up and I feel so refreshed and wonderful. And she knows, just kind of leave me alone based on what goes on, because there are critical issues out there that are that you really put up with sometimes. And it's the best way for you to find a way to decompress, so that way you can be a little more resilient. And the problems, like I said, problems are always going to be there. That's life. Life can be a 4-letter word. That's just what life is. But then you can deal with it better if you are able to have a better perspective, and you're not in mental exhaustion because of it, and all the stress and the anxiety that goes with it. And if you are with a partner, I know you don't want to, well, you just don't want to be with me. You want to be away. It's like, time out. No, I love you dearly, sweetheart, but maybe you should try it, because it also will help our relationship, so we can go ahead and deal with each other and not be so irritable and take it out on each other, which we saw a lot during COVID. I mean, the domestic use of violence went up 68% during COVID.
Yeah, and the fear lingers from that still. We still face some of that today, but I agree with you 100% on music. I mean, if I was a doctor, I would write a prescription for that, because that is one of my ways to decompress. But it is all about finding your peace and finding where you can kind of get away from yourself and the world for a little bit, and taking, you can't pour from an empty cup. And that's a hard lesson to learn. And some of us still have to learn that. I'm working through that, but you can't. You do have to take care of yourself first.
Well, coping mechanisms is something that we kind of look back, oh, I'll blame my mom and dad because they never taught me coping mechanisms. But they don't have that. The only way you learn coping mechanisms is through the experience of life that you live and how to deal with it. And
they're personal. Yeah.
And it's not, I always say, it's not the event that happens to us, it's how we deal with it. And I mean, we improvise, adapt, and overcome. A lot of us will go ahead and deal with something. I'll deal with as much as I can, and I'll throw the rest of it in. I'll deal with it later box. And we keep doing that. But I don't know about you. Here we're already toward the end of July. And I mean, the year is basically, the last five months of the year are coming, and that's it. So when do we actually have time? When does I give you time to deal with it? So, but that box is like this, it's pulsating. You do it again, and pretty soon the box breaks open. Everything we thought we had dealt with days, weeks, months before rises to the surface, as well as that current issue. That's why you hear people say, I'm done, I'm over with. I can't deal with this anymore.
Because your box is full.
Yeah, because there's too much to deal with. So we've got to kind of stop running from, I call them our demons, stop running from demons and turning around behind us where we don't worry about it, start facing what's in front of us. That way life is a lot easier for all of us if we can deal with it one day, one step at a time. But it's difficult when you're not actually out there. Like a lot of our seniors, they don't have a chance to really have that freedom, have the car, just to go in the car and go down to get an ice cream or something, or coffee, and where you feel better. They're kind of feeling like they're stuck, and like no one cares about it. Like, okay, here I did all my shopping for you. Okay, grandma, here you go. Here, go back in your home, and I'll see you next month when you need to do this. And
I've done the minimum. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and that way they feel good, but they forget these individuals have feelings. What do they do? If anything, give them the tools and direction on how to go and get out there with people. I'd love more than anything else for all these seniors to be able to go and tell their kids, well, I don't have time for you right now. I'm just too busy with everything. I mean, to me, well, if I get my feelings hurt, don't get your feelings hurt. We're all going to get to that age one day soon. But I think it's wonderful that they're able to find their purpose and get their identity and get that direction so they can enjoy the great times of life. It's supposed to be the prime of their life, basically. The golden years aren't always so golden.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, does anybody have any questions for Bryan? Does anybody have anything to say or any questions for him or anything you want to ask? No? We'll talk later. All right. Anybody? No? Good. Stephanie, nothing to say? You're just sitting over there being cool with your corporal hair? Okay. All right. Well, Bryan, I think that's good unless you've got anything you want to add.
Well, I don't think I just want to say is that we need to not forget about anybody, no matter what age. We need to go out and if someone's looking like they're having a bad day, just go up and ask them, are you doing okay? Yes. Take that 5 seconds out of a very busy day and realize that, and you're thinking, well, what is that going to do? Well, it's amazing. One of the magazines did a test, and they went ahead and they did this several years ago, and they called it the George Bailey test. And what they did is they took 15 people an age of 45 and backed them up. They had them fill out applications, everything, so everybody knew everything about their life from the time they were born to where they are right now. But what they did then is they backed them up all the way to the very beginning up to their birth and pretended that they were never born and started from that whole idea. The whole purpose was they didn't know what information they were going to find, but the whole